On the morning of Easter in 2015, a crowded Easter egg hunt was taking place in a large park in the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio. Children and parents ran everywhere, searching for colorful eggs hidden in bushes and on the lawn. Among the crowd was Sarah, whose name has been changed, along with her 6-year-old son, Billy. Billy was very excited about the egg hunt. The little boy ran nimbly, his eyes bright as he searched for hidden eggs. Sarah walked behind, smiling as she watched her son play in the festive atmosphere. As Billy was rummaging under a thick old tree, he suddenly let out a shout of delight. "Mommy, I found a different kind of egg." Billy ran over to Sarah, holding an egg in his hand. The egg wasn't like the other brightly colored eggs. It was dark red, like dried blood, and its surface was not smooth but slightly rough. Notably, a faint metallic smell emanated from the egg, like the smell of blood or raw meat. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine when she took the egg. The terrifying color and unpleasant smell made her feel uneasy. "This egg is strange, honey," Sarah said, her voice slightly trembling. "It smells odd, too." Billy sniffed the egg, then said, "I don't smell anything, Mom. It looks pretty." Sarah tried to ignore the feeling of unease. Perhaps it was just a special kind of paint or material used for decoration. However, the faint metallic smell still made her uncomfortable. She placed the egg in Billy's basket, trying to keep it away from the other eggs. They continued the egg hunt, but Sarah no longer felt comfortable. She kept thinking about that dark red egg and its smell. After the egg hunt ended, everyone gathered to show off their prizes. Billy proudly showed his basket of eggs to his friends. The dark red egg quickly attracted attention. A few other children were curious and wanted to touch the egg, but Sarah felt a strange protectiveness over it. She said, "This egg belongs to Billy. You shouldn't touch it." That night, after Billy had fallen asleep, Sarah couldn't sleep at all. She kept thinking about the dark red egg. Her unease about it grew stronger and stronger. She took the egg out of Billy's basket and placed it on the bedside table, wanting to examine it more closely. In the dark room, the dark red egg looked even more terrifying. The metallic smell from it seemed stronger in the silent air. Sarah stared intently at the egg. Sarah lay in bed, eyes wide open, staring intently at the dark red egg on the bedside table. The metallic smell from it made her feel nauseous. She felt as if the egg was emitting some evil energy. Around 3 a.m., as Sarah was trying to fall asleep, she suddenly heard a strange noise coming from the egg. It was a very faint cracking sound, like an eggshell cracking. Sarah startled and sat up, staring intently at the egg. The egg didn't move, but she was sure she had heard a cracking sound. She carefully reached out and picked up the egg. The shell was still intact, with no cracks at all. However, when she held the egg, Sarah felt it was slightly warmer than usual, and the metallic smell from it seemed stronger. Sarah shivered. She knew she wasn't imagining things. Something was wrong with this egg. She placed the egg back on the table, her unease growing. She felt as if someone was watching her from the darkness. Just then, Sarah's phone on the table suddenly lit up with a new message. It was a message from a friend of hers, who had also participated in the Easter egg hunt yesterday. Sarah opened the message and was horrified to read the content. The message was about a terrible murder that had just occurred during the night. The victim was a man, and he had died brutally. Sarah felt her heart clench as she read the message. She suddenly thought of the dark red egg. She continued reading and was even more horrified to learn that the victim was the very man who had been standing right next to her and Billy at the egg hunt yesterday. The man who had shown curiosity about the dark red egg. Sarah felt her entire body tremble. She knew that this murder was connected to the dark red egg. The man's death was no coincidence. She stared intently at the egg on the table, feeling as if it was looking back at her, with an evil and dangerous gaze. The metallic smell from it became even stronger. Sarah felt utter terror. She knew this egg was not a decoration. It was a curse, or something even more terrifying than that. She tried to calm herself down. She needed to find out more about the murder and the dark red egg. Lisa didn't dare sleep anymore. She sat on the bed, staring intently at the egg, waiting for something to happen. After the first murder, Sarah lived in utter fear. She knew that the dark red egg was the cause of that death. She tried to discard the egg, but every time she tried, a strange fear would engulf her, making her unable to do it. It seemed as if some force was preventing her. In the following days, mysterious murders continued to occur in Cleveland, especially targeting people who had participated in the Easter egg hunt. Each victim died brutally and mysteriously, and the police found no clues about the killer. Terrifyingly, in each murder, there seemed to be some detail related to Easter or eggs. For example, one victim was found dead with Easter eggs scattered around the body, or there were egg-shaped bruises on the body. Sarah felt her entire body tremble as she read the news about the murders. She knew these weren't random crimes. A killer was hunting down people who had taken eggs in the Easter egg hunt. And even more terrifying, the killer seemed to be systematically tracking those people. He knew who had taken the eggs, and he would come for them to kill them. Sarah thought of the dark red egg that Billy had taken. She knew that Billy and she were also on the killer's list. Fear enveloped Sarah. She tried to find a way to protect her son. She no longer dared to let Billy go anywhere alone. She locked all the doors and windows in the house tightly. Sarah also tried to find out about the history of the dark red egg and that Easter egg hunt. She searched for information online and asked local residents. She learned that the park where the Easter egg hunt took place had a dark history. Many years ago, a horrifying murder occurred there. Right on Easter, the victim was a man, and he was brutally murdered. It was rumored that the killer was a madman, and he had performed some evil ritual related to Easter and eggs. The killer was never caught. Sarah shivered reading this story. She believed that that killer was still alive, or his spirit was still lingering here. And the dark red egg was the connection to him. That egg was not a normal egg. It was a haunted object, containing the killer's evil spirit, or a terrible curse. After learning about the dark history of the park and the horrifying murder that occurred on Easter many years ago, Sarah was even more convinced that the dark red egg was connected to the killer. She tried to destroy the egg in many ways, but without success. No matter how hard she hit it, threw it into a fire, or soaked it in holy water, the egg remained unharmed, even becoming colder and more terrifying. The metallic smell from it also grew stronger and stronger. Sarah felt desperate. She knew that this egg could not be destroyed by normal methods. Meanwhile, the murders continued to occur. The number of victims was increasing. Each victim was someone who had participated in the Easter egg hunt and had taken an egg. Terrifyingly, the killer seemed to be getting closer to Sarah and Billy. She felt a terrifying presence lurking around her house. At night, Sarah often heard strange noises coming from outside, like soft footsteps on the lawn, faint scratching on the windows, or very soft whispers. She looked out the window, trying to see into the darkness, but saw nothing. However, she sensed some evil presence nearby. watching her and Billy. One night, as Sarah and Billy were fast asleep, Sarah suddenly woke up startled by a strange noise coming from downstairs. It was a soft noise, like something moving in the living room. Sarah got out of bed, her heart pounding in her chest. She woke Billy up and whispered, "Billy, stay right here. Don't go anywhere." Sarah grabbed a baseball bat and slowly went downstairs. The house was pitch black, with only faint moonlight shining through the windows. As she approached the living room, Sarah heard the noise more clearly. It was a soft noise, like an egg rolling on the floor. Sarah shivered. She knew it was the dark red egg. It had returned. She shone her phone flashlight on the floor and was horrified to see the dark red egg rolling on the floor, heading towards the stairs, towards Billy's bedroom. And as the egg rolled closer, Sarah was horrified to see something following it. It was a tall figure, wearing dark clothes, with its face hidden by a bizarre mask. The killer, wearing dark clothes and the bizarre mask, walked slowly behind the dark red egg. The egg rolled gently on the floor, guiding him. Sarah stood there, on the stairs, her whole body stiff with fear. She stared intently at the horrifying scene unfolding before her. The killer was inside her house. The killer looked up, his black, hollow eyes behind the mask staring directly at Sarah. Sarah felt as if her soul was being sucked into those eyes. A faint laugh echoed from the killer, the laugh sounding cold and lifeless, like the laugh of an old doll. Sarah knew he was mocking her fear. The killer slowly walked across the floor, his footsteps soft and silent. Even though the old wooden floor creaked under Sarah's every step, it was as if he had no weight. He walked towards the stairs, where Sarah was standing. The dark red egg still rolled in front, guiding him. Sarah screamed in terror. She turned around and ran frantically upstairs, towards Billy's bedroom. She rushed into the room, slammed the door shut, and locked it tightly. She ran to the bed and woke Billy up. "Billy, wake up, honey. We have to get out of here." Billy woke up, his eyes sleepy, looking at his mother. "What's wrong, Mom?" he asked, his voice groggy. Sarah didn't have time to explain. She grabbed Billy's hand and pulled him out of bed. Just then, a loud noise echoed from the bedroom door. The killer had reached the top of the stairs and was trying to break down the door. The wood creaked and groaned, as if the door was about to be smashed to pieces. Sarah and Billy backed away, full of fear. Sarah knew the door wouldn't hold for long. She looked around the room, trying to find a way out. The bedroom only had one door and one window. The window overlooked the backyard, where there was a large tree. Sarah looked out the window. She thought perhaps they could climb out and escape through the backyard. However, as Sarah was about to open the window, she suddenly saw something terrifying outside. At the base of the large tree, a few more dark red eggs were lying there, emitting a strong metallic smell. And next to those eggs, something dark red was lurking in the shadows. Sarah was horrified to realize it was a part of a human body. The killer wasn't just hunting them. He was bringing those things here. The banging on the door grew more intense. The killer was trying to break down the door to Sarah and Billy's bedroom. Sarah held Billy tightly, trembling all over. She knew they didn't have much time left. She looked out the window, seeing the dark red eggs and the terrifying body part under the tree. Sarah suddenly understood. The dark red egg was not just a connection to the killer. It was a part of him, or the source of his power. And the other eggs, along with the body part, were perhaps things he had brought here, as part of some evil ritual. Just then, something terrifying happened. The dark red eggs under the tree suddenly began to shake. The eggshells cracked, and a dark red, viscous liquid flowed out from inside, with a strong metallic smell. And then, from inside the broken eggs, gaunt, dark red fingers slowly emerged. Sarah screamed in horror. Those fingers crawled on the ground, like terrifying spiders. And then, those fingers began to connect with each other, forming a distorted, grotesque shape. It was a part of a human body, regenerating itself. Sarah knew that the thing attacking them was not a normal human. It was an evil creature, something from hell. The banging on the door stopped completely. The killer seemed to have given up, but Sarah knew he hadn't given up. He was out there, waiting. Sarah looked out the window again. The grotesque thing under the tree was gradually completing its form. It seemed to be an arm, slowly standing up. Sarah felt desperate. They couldn't escape. The killer was right outside the door. And that grotesque thing was rising in the back. Billy screamed in terror. "Mommy, I'm so scared." Sarah hugged her son tightly. She knew she had to do something. She couldn't just sit here and wait to die. She looked around the room, trying to find something that could help them. Her eyes landed on the bedside lamp on the table. Sarah thought of using fire. Perhaps fire could burn that grotesque thing and also the dark red egg. However, she knew it was very dangerous. The fire could spread and burn down the entire house. But Sarah had no other choice. She knew they were facing death. She picked up the bedside lamp and said to Billy, "Billy, stay right here. Honey, I'll be right back." Sarah walked towards the window. Holding the bedside lamp, she opened the window slightly. Sarah took a deep breath and threw the bedside lamp downwards, right onto the dark red eggs and the grotesque body part that was forming. The lamp shattered, and the flame from the broken bulb ignited the dark red liquid flowing from the eggs. Immediately, the fire flared up intensely. The grotesque thing forming under the tree shrieked in horrifying pain. The fire quickly spread, burning the eggs and the body part. From the fire rose a foul, sickening smell, accompanied by terrifying moans and screams. It was as if something was being burned alive. Sarah slammed the windows shut and backed away. She looked out through the glass, watching in horror as the fire raged. The killer outside the bedroom door suddenly stopped banging. He let out a roar of anger and pain. Sarah knew her action had worked. The fire was harming the killer and the evil thing he had brought. However, the fire spread faster than Sarah had imagined. The flames rose high, caught onto the tree, and spread to the fence. Thick black smoke and a strong burning smell filled the air. Sarah knew they had to get out of the house immediately. She turned to Billy. "Billy, stay right here. Honey, I'll find a way out." Sarah ran out of the bedroom, heading towards the stairs. As she got downstairs, she was horrified to see that the fire had reached the living room. The fire was burning fiercely, consuming the furniture. Thick smoke enveloped the house, making it hard for Sarah to breathe. Sarah knew she couldn't go through the living room to get to the front door. The only way out was through the back door, but the back door was blocked by the killer. She felt desperate. They were trapped in the burning house. Just then, Sarah suddenly heard a loud noise coming from behind the house. It was the sound of something collapsing. Sarah ran to the back of the house, shining her phone flashlight. She was horrified to see that a part of the back wall of the house had collapsed, perhaps due to the heat of the fire. From the hole in the wall, Sarah saw the backyard of the neighbor's house behind them. That backyard was dark and terrifying. Sarah knew this was their only chance to escape. She ran back upstairs to Billy. "Billy, Come here, honey. We have to get out. Sarah grabbed Billy's hand and pulled him downstairs. They ran towards the hole in the back wall. As they approached the hole, Sarah looked outside. She didn't see the killer anywhere. Perhaps he had been injured or burned by the fire. Sarah and Billy climbed out through the hole in the back wall of the house, entering the dark backyard of the neighbor. They ran as fast as they could, not daring to look back. The fire behind their house raged fiercely, illuminating the night sky. A strong burning smell and thick smoke filled the air. They ran through the neighbor's yard, climbed over the fence, and ran into the street. Sarah held Billy tightly. Both were crying and trembling. They ran to the nearest neighbor's house and knocked on the door for help. The neighbor opened the door and was shocked to see Sarah and Billy covered in dirt and tears. Police and firefighters arrived at the scene. The fire had completely destroyed Sarah's house. While the firefighters were extinguishing the fire, the police investigated the surrounding area, especially the area under the tree behind Sarah's house. They found strange marks on the ground and some debris that looked like burned human bones. The police also found fragments of the dark red egg that had been partially burned. The metallic smell from the fragments was still very strong. However, the police didn't find any trace of the killer. It seemed he had vanished in the fire. Sarah and Billy were safe. They had escaped that horrifying Easter. Sarah told the entire story to the police about the dark red egg, the mysterious murders, and how the killer had entered her house. She also told them about the grotesque thing that had formed from the eggs and the body part under the tree. The police listened carefully, but they seemed skeptical about the supernatural details in Sarah's story. However, they couldn't explain the strange marks under the tree and the burned body fragments. The case was investigated, but the killer was never caught. The deaths of the victims remained a mystery. Sarah and Billy moved to another place. They tried to rebuild their lives, but the haunting memory of the horrifying Easter always stayed with them. Sarah never forgot the dark red egg and its metallic smell. She knew it was the source of all the tragedies that had occurred. She also never forgot the masked killer. She believed he was not a normal human. He was something else, an evil force that had been activated by the blood egg. The story of the horrifying Easter in Cleveland became an urban legend. People rumored about the blood egg and the mysterious killer who had unleashed terror. If you enjoyed these true horror stories, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the channel to follow our latest videos. We will bring you more terrifying and haunting stories. Thank you for listening.